I am so excited about this next interview because a couple weeks ago I was introduced to kombucha, and I'm probably saying it wrong. I'm so new to it. You may have had it before. Maybe you've heard of it. Maybe you've never tried it. But Abby, who is one of our regulars on the show on Tuesdays for our Taco Tech Tuesday, we do a lot of things kind of the same. We like a lot of things the same, a lot of the same restaurants and foods. We bake, we do all kinds of different things. And she was telling me that I needed to try this, that it was on tap over at Jules Bistro. And I'm like, okay, I'll run over for a piece of my kindness cake and I'll try this stuff. And I tried it and I absolutely loved it. And I started talking to the restaurant about where they get it, who makes it. I wonder if they'd be interested in doing an interview. And lucky for me, Brian agreed to chat with us today. It's Brian Deane Birch. He has created Deane's Kombucha. And thank you, Brian, for being with us today. How are you?
I'm doing very well, Kelly. Thanks for having me.
I want to ask you one very simple question first, because I'll be so embarrassed if I'm saying it wrong. Is it kombucha? Is that right?
You got it. That's perfect. Yep. Not many people get it.
Yeah. Now, this is, to me, it's new. I'm sure it's not new to a lot of other people, but how did you get into the business of making kombucha?
Well, years ago, I think it was around 2005, my wife brought some home from the co-op, and I'd never heard of it before. And we were doing some different experiments with our diets and health and wellness, and I tried a sip, and I just fell in love with it. And couldn't drink enough of it, and then I found out how much she was spending on it. And I was up at a healer's retreat the following summer, and I was bragging about kombucha to somebody, and they said, "Oh, you can make that on your own." And so I looked into that, and I mail ordered a culture and just started making it at home.
Okay. So you started making it home. I'm kind of like you. I tasted it, and I went, "Oh my gosh, this is something different." I'm trying to figure out how you explain what the taste is. It's sort of, if you like pop, it has a bubbly feel to it, but it doesn't taste like that. I don't exactly know how to tell people the flavor. What do you explain it?
No, well, I mean, it's got definitely like a vinegary flavor in the back of the tongue.
Yeah.
But you're right. It's got the effervescence, and that's why a lot of kids really like it too, just because of the bubbles.
Sure.
Obviously, there's not much sugar in it compared to a soda pop, but it's got that same mouthfeel, I guess.
Okay. And now, and talking about it, you tried it, you loved it, and you were pretty much kind of looking at different things for health. Is it a healthy beverage?
Oh, definitely, yeah. I mean, it's loaded with probiotics, amino acids, and enzymes, so it's really good for your gut health. And then I find that it just gives me a natural energy boost without the crash following it.
Yeah, which is a great thing.
And it puts you it just puts a little spring in your step, puts you in a good mood.
Yeah, it does. I just love it. Now, are you supposed to limit how much kombucha you drink in a day? Can you have it every day?
Well, I believe everything in moderation, but I drink quite a bit of it, especially on brewing days, because we're testing the flavors and whatnot. So, I mean, there's plenty of times where I'll have more than a gallon during a day.
Yeah.
And then the guy that first brought it commercially, GT Dave out of California, he claims to drink like 5 gallons a day, which I think is outrageous, but I've met him and he seems healthy. So I haven't found any negatives to it, but I wouldn't recommend it, especially if you're new to it. Mm-hmm. You should only have like 8 to 12 ounces in your first time, just because it does also promote a liver detox.
Okay, good to know. All right, so you tasted it. Obviously, you loved it, but it wasn't the stuff that you make. I've been told that if you have Deane's Kombucha on tap, you'll never want to drink any other kind of kombucha. But you also sell this, and when people have talked to you, it's been very successful. You sort of plan on keeping it as a Minnesota or a local Midwest product.
Yeah, definitely. I think that just our whole food economy, it's important that we bring stuff local. I mean, I think we learned early in the pandemic just how vulnerable some of our supply chains are. Mm-hmm. And especially with fermented foods, because this is an open fermentation, so it's gathering yeasts that are just in the air that are already part of our, ecosystem. Yeah. And so I think it's more powerful if you have a local fermented food versus something coming up from California.
Right. I read somewhere that you said you started doing this, bought a culture somewhere online, and you still use that basic same culture that you started with.
Yeah, I started with a 2.5 gallon batch at home, and that's turned into, I think we've got 40, 30 gallon oak barrels. I've been teaching classes for over 10 years, and so there's probably hundreds and hundreds of people that are brewing it at home with the same culture that I started with. So if you take care of it, it's kind of like a sourdough bread. If you take care of it, it'll keep supplying you.
Goodness sake. So how did you decide to take this and turn it into a business? I mean, you liked it. You thought, my wife's spending all of our money on it. I'm going to make it instead. Did you find out that other people were like, hey, can you make us some? Or how did that happen?
Well, it was about a year into it. My kombucha started to taste really good, and sharing it with friends and family, and they said, oh, this is great. And I'm walking around Whole Foods and the co-ops, and I'm seeing all this refrigeration space dedicated to this one brand of kombucha. And I'm like, ooh, I think there's a market here. And so I just did a lot of research on what licenses I need and what kind of a commercial kitchen I need, and just put it all together. And it took a couple years, but we got it started.
It's awesome. It is delicious. So this is, like you said, brewed in oak barrels?
Yep, we're using toasted oak barrels.
Okay. And it's whole organic fruit and herbs for flavoring. And you serve a lot of restaurants and cafes and tap rooms in central Minnesota. And I don't know how far.
Yeah, I mean, most of our accounts are in the Twin Cities, but then we've got several in St. Cloud and several in Duluth. And but yeah, restaurants, tap rooms. We do sell bottles at the co-ops, but I'm really trying to promote the kegs. Just it's less waste, and
sure,
just trying to bring the liquid directly to the people.
I like it. I have a glass bottle that I bought over at Joel's, and I have refilled it twice since I started drinking it last week. I love it. And they were kind enough to give me a sample. They usually have two flavors on tap. And so they were both really good. I went with the cherry basil. And that's what I've got both times. I've tried a grapefruit. I don't even know the exact names, but how many different flavors do you have right now?
Oh, we've got like 30 plus.
Yeah.
It's whatever fruit I can get my hands on, whatever herbs I can get my hands on, and then just doing different combinations. So it's a lot funner in the summertime where I'm sourcing a lot of that from local farmers. But then in the winter, it's mainly frozen fruit from Costco. So.
Right. Well, and I love the fact that you are utilizing local vendors as much as possible, not only the fruit, but the bottles and the cardboard and the oak barrels. All of that is pretty much locally made.
Yep. We try our best to keep it local.
How many people does it take to keep Deane's Kombucha going? I mean, it's a family-run business. Do you have several employees, or is it something that just needs to sit, and then there's a process a few days a week where you got to get a bunch of people in there to put it together?
We've got it like before the lockdown. It was my wife and I pretty much full time, and then we had 2 employees that were working about 35 hours a week.
Okay.
And then I've got 2 teenage sons, so they'll pop in whenever we need something special to do, like over the weekend or something. So, it got to the point where it was definitely a 6-day a week for me.
Right.
We usually produce twice a week, but then there's plenty of prep work and other stuff to be doing in between production days.
Pretty crazy. I just think it's fantastic. I'm like so addicted to it. I'm like, couldn't believe that you were going to agree to be on the show today. I thought he's probably too busy for us, but so.
Well, when you're down in the Twin Cities, I'll give you a tour.
Yes, that would be fantastic. Now, as I said before, people have asked you if you're going to take this nationally, and you said, no, it doesn't really make any sense. Rather, you want to focus on the local marketplace and offer the small batch, the artisan kombucha. Do you have it? Like, I have a picture here of it being in a bottle. Can you buy it in just bottles to take home, or do you need to get it on tap?
No, they should be available. I forget what the co-op's name is in St. Cloud.
And I should know because I can picture it in my mind. Good Earth Co-op?
Good Earth.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they have bottles there.
Okay.
And then locally in the Twin Cities, a bunch of the co-ops will have them as well.
Okay. That's good to know. What other flavors have you not made yet that you're kind of thinking about? I mean, are there things that people come to you with ideas, or do you just say, this is the fruits and the herbs that we have to work with, and we're going to try this combination? Have you ever tried one you went, oh my gosh, we're not telling anybody we ever tried that one?
I haven't had many duds, actually, no. Like, we did, a couple years ago, we tried one with just maple syrup, and it turned out fantastic. It turned out like a grown-up cream soda.
Oh, wow.
But then I've tried it another time, and it didn't turn out so well, so I'm not sure what happened there. But no, we haven't. I'm creative enough, but I'm kind of in my own box. Like my wife wants to try making some with like anise, which I hate black licorice. So it's just, if I don't have an interest in it, it's really hard for me to make it.
Well, sure. Now, do your sons, do they have an interest of saying, Dad, teach us your secrets? Are they more like, for me, my kids don't tell anybody that I'm a radio DJ. They don't want anyone to know that their mom works in radio. How are your kids with this?
They know all my secrets. It's a really simple process. So, they've helped on production day, and they used to help me when I was just making it at home too. So
yeah. Well, here's the thing. A lot of people say, well, I'm just going to make it at home. And then they try it and they do, and they're like, nope, you know what? No, I'm not going to make it at home. I'm just going to buy Deane's Kombucha instead because I like it better. And obviously there's something about yours that tastes different. That has been the word that I've heard from other people. They're like, no, I tried a different kombucha and I didn't like it at all. But when I tried it on tap, I loved it. And I found out what kind it was. And I buy that particular brand.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, people have their preferences. I think ours is a lot lighter and crisper than most. We're using an organic green tea instead of a black tea. So we're also, I think the oak barrels really soften kind of that vinegary taste. And then the whole fruit and herbs was a real game changer because prior to that I was using fruit juice, and that it seemed to really soften the flavor, but also the expression of the fruit is so much more prolific.
How long does it take to make a batch from start to finish?
The whole process is about 2 weeks.
Okay.
So we do 7 days primary fermentation in the oak barrel, and then we draw the liquid out, and then we infuse it with fruit, and it sits with the fruit for 3 or 4 days. And then we pull the fruit out, and then we bottle and keg it, and then we continue to ferment in the bottle and the keg, and that's where the natural bubbles come from for another several days. So the whole process is 2 weeks.
So if I have a bottle of the kombucha that I get on tap and I take it home, how long can it last in the bottle? I mean, if I have a little bit every day, obviously it's not been lasting me any time at all because I drink it every day. But if let's say I had it today and then I went on a vacation for 2 weeks and it was in my fridge for 2 weeks, when I came back, is it still going to be good?
Yeah, it's good for 6 months or more.
Oh.
The only thing when you're buying it in the bigger jugs, if you're going in and out of it, you're going to lose some of that carbonation, but it never really goes bad.
Okay, that's good to know. And it does need to be refrigerated, correct?
It does. It'll continue fermenting if you don't refrigerate it, which it won't spoil. It'll just turn into vinegar.
Oh.
So, and I'll tell people, if you ever buy a bottle, whatever brand you buy, and it's like you're bummed out because it's flat, like it's not as carbonated as you like, just put it on your kitchen counter with the lid on sealed and let it sit for a few days, and you'll get carbonation.
Ah, that's neat. That's something, a big plus. Like if people drink pop, they know how it sits and it doesn't ever get its carbonation back, and it's gross and you dump it out. This is something that's healthier for you, less sugar. Is it high in calories?
No, it's got about, I think, 30 calories.
Wow.
Or 16 ounces or something.
Mm-hmm. And plus the probiotics.
That's mainly coming from the fruit.
Yeah. So that's better for you too, obviously.
Yeah. Yep.
What are your big plans now for this year? Obviously, I'm assuming that the pandemic kind of threw a wrench in the things that you were doing, but obviously you're still there. You were doing some how-to homebrew kombucha classes, as you said, in the Twin Cities. Are you going to be doing that again?
Yeah, as soon as we're allowed to, yep.
Okay.
We'll get that going again. And our big plans right now are to try to survive.
Try to survive, yeah. And hopefully you are doing that because we don't want to see it go anywhere. I just got addicted to it, so I can't have it going anywhere.
I'll keep it going for you, Kelly.
That's there. There you go. That's all you need. All right. If people want to learn more about Deane's Kombucha, do you have a website or any place that they can go to learn more online?
Yep. It's just deanskombucha.com, and that's DEANES. And then KOMBUCHA.com.
Before we go, can I ask you how you came up with the name for Deane's Kombucha? Is it your middle name or?
It's just my middle name. I was thinking, and I'm like, well, Brian's Kombucha, that doesn't really have a ring to it. But I thought, Deane's Kombucha, that might work. Now, because my middle name is spelt funny, half the people think that I'm a woman and it's Deanne's Kombucha.
Yeah.
So. But whatever.
I know, that's hilarious. I saw that too, and I'm like, is that Deane's? Because I'm saying Deane's, or is it Deanne's? Or
right.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to double check that too. Well, thank you so much for making time for us today. And I will continue to try the new flavors as they come out. And hopefully I'll let you know when I'm coming down to the Twin Cities, and I'd love to have a tour sometime.
Sounds very good. Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you. It's Brian Birch for Deane's Kombucha. You can try it here locally. They also have all the places, I think, listed that have it throughout the area. But I've tried it over on tap at Jules Bistro. And he said it's also available in bottles over at Good Earth. So you can try it either way. Let me know what you think.